Welcome, everybody, to Pacific Mystery School. This is the core and heart of the Kabbalistic tradition, the Western mystery tradition. And today we are working with our studies with tarot reading the tarot. And today I want to talk about why we might want to do a reading, what the nature of the tarot is with regard to readings, the uses of the cards, the teachings of the cards as a sacred oracle, and doing tarot as a spiritual practice. So this is the intro part to tarot readings. And then what we will do is look at different kinds of questions and spreads you can create. And so there'll be two parts to that. So there are three parts to this. The first part is about just readings. Why, what, how. And then part two is going to be about how you create the questions and the spreads. And then part three is about complex questions and spreads. So that's where we're going today. So first of all, why would we even do a tarot reading? Because some people use the tarot just for meditational practice. They don't use it to do readings. And people who are really into it just do it for meditational practice. I love to do readings myself, because when you do a reading with a tarot deck, what happens is new possibilities you hadn't thought about before will arise, especially if you're trying to figure something out, right? You're trying to understand something, and all of a sudden you've got all these new possibilities and new perspectives that arise. Also, we will get caught thinking something has to be either one way or another way, when in fact there are many, many ways it could be. And when we do a tarot reading, what happens is it creates new pathways in the brain, new synapses in the brain. And I even believe that, seriously, that it may be, wildly enough, a preventative for dementia. Because what we're doing is we keep creating all these new synapses, because doing a tarot reading is like doing a very complex puzzle and creating an amazing story out of that puzzle. Okay, so surprising ideas and challenges, and then beyond that, seeking guidance, looking for guidance, and then I feel even beyond that is growing the soul. Growing the psyche, growing the soul, growing the soul of ourselves. So what about the nature of the tarot, and especially the nature of the tarot of the spirit cards? Because tarot of the spirit is different than a lot of tarots. It is a basic tarot. Basic tarot decks all have the same structure, which I've talked about elsewhere. It is a basic tarot deck, but very importantly, it's also very explicitly a Kabbalistic tarot deck, and that means it's based on the Western mystery tradition. Each card, as you know, in Tarot of the Spirit is actually painted on a diagram of the Tree of Life. So the whole Tarot of the Spirit becomes a hologram. It becomes holographic, because each card contains the whole Tree of Life, plus the card fits on the diagram of the Tree of Life in a specific place. That's something I don't want to go into right now. I'm just throwing that in as background. I've talked about it a lot elsewhere. The Tarot of the Spirit also is shamanic, because it deals with the four directions, the four elements: fire, water, air, and earth, basically. So it's fire, water, air/wind, and earth. That was very specifically done in Tarot of the Spirit, that we moved from the container of the element to the element itself. So instead of using the wand, which contains the fire, we went straight to the fire as a shamanic dimension of consciousness and also of creation of the cosmos. Okay, so Tarot of the Spirit is special in that way that all of this is intentional. All of it was intentional. Tarot cards in general, though, it is a tarot card deck in general, too. It has 78 cards, with the same structure as any other tarot. But the difference is it grew out of the Western Mystery School tradition. I'm still talking about Tarot of the Spirit. It grew out of the Western Mystery School tradition and was very, very intentional as a way of moving both participating in the Western Mystery School tradition as well as moving it to the next level. And each of us, by the way, moves the Western tradition, the Western Mystery tradition, to the next level because we receive the teachings of Kabbalah, which is a secret body of knowledge that comes out of that. So we receive the teachings, we receive them according to our own background, our own filters, everything we've studied, everything we've learned. So it becomes very specific the way we receive it and how much we receive and what we receive. And then in the same way, we retain only certain things, the things that are meant for us to retain, because we have a container. Okay, and so then we pass it along also in a very specific way that has to do with ourselves as individuals and everything we are and how that all came to be and so on. So that is why they call this participating in the living Kabbalah. Okay, because it never gets stuck anywhere. Also, there's no dogma. There is no there's a diagram, but the diagram is meant to inspire us to move into a body of teachings that exist esoterically. So we find them. You find you're invited to enter. Kabbalah means to receive. You're invited to enter, to call in these amazing energies and to experience these amazing energies. And then to learn what only you can learn from it, embody it yourself, and then, in a sense, pass it on. So that's what we're doing here. The tarot cards in general have been developed for at least 1,000 years, and we know that because once they invented the block printing press, there were tarot cards, So we don't really know how old they are because paper rots and all of that. But there are surviving decks, that are 1,000 years old and so on. So, U.S. Games, by the way, who published Tarot of the Spirit, they have a collection of some of the really old tarot decks, and there's a secret room. Here's where Pamela gets here's where she starts going sideways. I have to always watch that, especially if I'm trying to record something. But they do have a room in the Pierpont Morgan Museum in New York City, which is a secret room you can't get into, where these decks are held. However, any of you might be able to get into that room. I've been in the room. Why have I been in the room? I've been in the room because my publisher got me into the room, because because it's basically their collection. So, but any of you may also be able to get into the room. If you wish to get into the room, you will get into the room. You can't just show up there, though. You got to get permission. And I know there's a way, by the way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Okay, I'm just floating that. It's in New York City. Yeah, New York City. Okay, Pierpont Morgan Museum. So I did go there with my friend. Way off track now. Okay, I'll just say I went with my friend, my dear friend. And Yeah, they would not let her in because she didn't have, I had permission, but she didn't have permission. So I had to go in all by myself and have the experience all by myself when I wanted to share it with somebody, you know. Okay, we're going to move beyond that now. Okay, we're talking about the tarot cards. So they've been developed for 1,000 years at least, but as the tarot decks keep coming out, some of them anyway, are moving beyond like Tarot of Spirit moved way beyond what was already pre-existing, and a lot of them are continuing to hold new knowledge within the concepts that are contained within the particular tarot deck. So these tarot decks hold the intentional tarot decks. The intentional tarot decks are really the Kabbalistic tarot decks, and they hold this body of key concepts and teachings that have been around for a really long time. The tarot deck is a grid or a matrix of ideas. By the way, the word idea, which I love the word, I means indwelling, and dea means goddess. So indwelling goddess, whatever that is, that's what idea means. When you get an idea, who's getting the idea? Okay. The tarot is a map of the soul. I mentioned that each card in Tarot of the Spirit is painted on a diagram of the tree of life. The tree of life essentially is a 10-point system of development and evolution. And this 10-point system helps us view the matrix of the tarot, because we can place the cards on there, on that diagram, I mean. And so why am I mentioning this diagram for us with regard to tarot readings would be the question, is because what we are going to learn how to do is we are going to learn how to create our readings, our spreads, also called spreads, the way we lay out the cards, and our throws, based on this system and based on the tree of life and that 10-point system and the outflow of that 10-point system, because this is the mystery school. And we will be returning back to that 10-point system of Kabbalah through the whole thing. Okay. A note about these shamanic suits: the fire, the water, the air/wind, and the earth. Briefly, spirit, or the spiritual realm, enhances our life force and our will to live. It's the energy flowing through our body and that connects us with the energies of the cosmos that gave birth to us and that exists all around us, within and all around us. So spirit's the life force energy. I'm clarifying some language right now. Heart, so spirit would be, that's the suit of fire, and it would be the suit of wands. Okay, heart, the four suits are basically spirit, heart, mind, and body. I'm making that real simple. So the spirit, the fire, okay, then the heart corresponds with the water, which corresponds with cups, essentially. Heart is emotional, it's intuitive, it's sentimental feelings. It's about attachment. It's also very creative because it embraces and brings in the dreamy and the metaphorical. This heart energy enhances our connections. Most importantly, our feelings of belonging in our lives and belonging on the planet. It's in that space of heart and water that we feel the sense of emotional wholeness. And by the way, what does that word healing mean? Healing, right? It means whole. To heal means whole, right? So actually, ultimately, we will be, if we're healing, if we're making whole, we need to incorporate all four suits, the energy of all four suits. But heart, is the great uniter. Heart unites, the heart unites with the mind divides, So the mind is going to divide to analyze and understand, but the heart's going to be the uniter. So I think when we're talking about healing, if we're talking about healing, we're talking about a wholeness that in a sense emerges out of the heart. I was just reading someone, now I'm going off again on a sideways path. Just this week, I was reading something from an individual who said the healthiest people he had ever seen in his entire life were the cancer patients at a major hospital. Why? Because they were so immersed in their healing process that they were bringing in all the different areas. And even if they were terminal, they had come to a place of complete health within the middle of the process.
That's true.
It comes from the heart. Mm-hmm. That's a heart energy. Then the next suit is the mind energy. And mind energy that's mental, but it's about consciousness. Consciousness, it's about awareness. It is about what wakes us up. Paying attention, and it's our reason too. It's our reason, it's our force of reason. The heart too, I'm backing up, the heart too is our passion. We feel the passion in our heart. And so I just had this flashback to Khalil Gibran that talked about the passion is the sail that moves us forward. So the heart is going to move us forward like the sail. But the reason is the rudder on the boat, right? So the reason is what moves us in the right direction, but the heart is what propels us. Then there's the body. That's the, backing up, the suit of mind is the suit of wind, is the suit of swords. Then we come to the last suit, the body. That's earth, and that's the suit of pentacles. Pentacles is basically 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. That's a star. The pinnacle is star. So there are many more symbols used in the suits, but that's not I've talked about that in other places, so that's not our agenda for today. Our agenda for today is the tarot reading, so I don't want to go all into the symbolism right now. But the fourth suit, body. So the body for us, this is how we navigate the world with our body based on our consciousness. How we learn how to work with these challenges, great and small, and then actually navigate with our body. With our body, we can create these pathways in the world. We create ways and means of working. And it really is all about embodiment and about manifesting that suit of earth. Okay, so that's just a little bit of background on the cards. And now to talk for a moment about the uses of the cards. The cards are used for step-by-step meditation, like a step-by-step meditational path. They are used for self-knowledge, to open up the self-knowledge, for knowledge of how things came to be. We can use the cards or employ the cards as our friend to talk to, which I do all the time. Give me some information about this. Tell me about that. What do you think about this? This is my friend. The cards are my friend. And that's true. The cards are my friend. They're my counselor. They're my teacher. They're my guide. And you could say, well, is it the cards or what they open onto? Either way. The cards help us, and I should say help me, because I work with the cards every single day. Every day, all day, I am working with the cards. The cards help me determine the features of my life, past, present, and future. And also all of our life. So if we're working with somebody else, it's determining these features of this person's life, past, present, and future, depending on the reading that we're doing. The cards help us determine and create direction for our lives. And this directionality is based on the meanings that arise. And mostly when I say meanings, I'm referring to a deep sense of meaning and purpose, because that's what the cards open up for us. I'm not talking about just the meaning of the card you look up in the book. I'm talking about the meaning of our lives. What does that mean? So the teachings of the cards, what do we learn from the teachings of the cards? Through the cards, we learn this map of consciousness in a step-by-step way. But then in the end, it's not step-by-step, because let's say you want to go someplace, and so you have a map. So you look at the map and you look at the road, but there's all kinds of stuff on the map that give us the layout, the topography, whatever it is. But then you can use the map to get from one place to another, okay, if you want to. So it gives us a way to navigate. The cards show us how to get from one place to another. So we learn the map of consciousness, we learn it step by step, but then when it comes alive to us, it doesn't come alive in a step-by-step way. It comes alive in a, what's the word? Not step-by-step, but
Holistic?
I'm sorry, the words are failing me. But
what? Popcorn?
Yeah, it's like you could just simultaneous. Everything comes alive simultaneously, and all at once. And it's like suddenly it's it's like perceiving a screen with 18 things going on at the same time, but we perceive it all at once. We can and we do perceive the whole thing at once. Okay, so we ask ourselves, where do we want to go? Where do we want to go? So with the teachings of the cards, it can be a linear teaching. For example, we learn 1 through 10 in each of the 4 suits. That's a linear teaching. But ultimately, there is nothing linear about doing a tarot reading, except that each card does fit in a linear pattern. But when you do a reading, we are not moving in the linear way. So knowing the linearity and how the cards fit together linearly is really good, because the linearity of the cards actually gives us, gives the cards and then gives us the power of prediction. So that's where the predictive ability comes in, because we know the outlay of the cards, so we know where they're going next, even if it's not, quote, on the table. We already know where it's going. We know it because we have learned the cards in a linear way. Okay, right now I'm not talking about knowing psychically what the next step is. I'm talking about just knowing the tarot deck, which that's like, knowing the tarot deck is like knowing your craft. It's like if you're a writer, learning your craft. You have to learn the craft to be a better writer. And then, you can skip the craft after you've learned it. But, we learn, if you're an artist, you learn red, yellow, blue, black, and white. That's helpful, and then how it comes into the color wheel. Later, you don't need to focus on all that. You can focus on painting your magnum opus. Okay. So linearity gives this predictive ability, and it gives us an outflow to the reading. But when the cards are mixed and laid out in the readings, the throws, the spreads, it bursts open the linearity. Then we move into imaginative thought. We move into story creation. We move into a new level of participation in our lives and in the cosmic story. We're a new level of participation where we are actually not only inside that story, but we are creating that story. So the cards actually give us the ability not only to understand reality, but to change it, to make changes, to move into the future. So through the cards, we are empowered to go more deeply into our own psyche, and the word psyche means soul. Psychology means the study of the soul. Ology means study of. Psyche means soul. This is a really deep psychology with the tarot. And my background is I'm a sociologist, primarily, by training. And socio means people in groups. So ology and then socio is the study of people in groups. It contains psychology, but it's more like group psychology, like what happens to people in groups. And for those who have ears to hear, the tarot not only outlines personal psychic movement and change, but you can equally apply it to social situations, to the socio part of it. So it's like it's socio, psychological, spiritual, all of it contained in one place. So here we are, starting with our own psyche. Let's say I'm going to do a reading for myself. So I am, or someone else, doesn't matter, but I'm doing a reading for myself. So I'm starting by entering into my own psyche and going deeper inside my own psyche, like to deeper and deeper levels of soul. But what winds up happening at a certain point for a lot of people is through really going deep into the soul, we find these doorways, we discover these doorways that open out onto what you might call a vaster cosmos. So we go deep, deep, deep within, and then it opens into the mystery beyond, which is within and without. This takes us into an even deeper understanding of our desires, of our species, of ourselves as a human, of our desires, the desires of our species. It takes us into different realities in terms of ways and means that could be, like ways of doing things or accomplishing things. So I'm moving this way beyond your basic reading is, should I get a dog? Something like that. I'm taking this in, but should I get a dog? Yes, we should get a dog. It's a big part of it. But it can actually take us into a complete evolution of consciousness, right? Okay, so the cards are a sacred oracle. When we enter into, if we approach it this way and we enter the cards into a sacred oracle, okay, wait, there's one part of me, let's back up. There's one part of me I can say, which I have said a lot, and I reserve the right to say it. It's just a game. It's just a game. It's just a game. That's it. In fact, the first line of Tarot of the Spirit says, I'm going to read it to you. I have the book right here. The first line of Tarot of the Spirit says, like I can remember, sorry, I have to look it up. I don't really remember, but it just popped into my head that I should read you the first line. Okay, here we go. Here we go. It's called, the first, chapter 1 is called The Tarot Deck. And it says, welcome to Tarot, the game of life. Welcome to this incredible game in which the object is to understand all that has been, is, and ever shall be. Welcome, dear traveler. Welcome to Tarot of the Spirit. And if anybody ever asks me about that, I can say it's a game. It's a game. Okay, so that's one level. It's a game. It's published by, Tarot of the Spirit is published by United States, U.S. Games Incorporated. What could be more game-like than that? Okay, so it's got all these levels to it, right? All these levels. So it is a game, and it is a sacred oracle. That makes my hair stand on end, because once you enter the game, you're going to see what happens inside that game. Because what happens is this sacred oracle takes us into a place where we enter something that feels bigger than ourselves. It is a mysterious, mystical connection with what have you, our higher self, our deeper self, our cosmic self. It is I like that term, cosmic self. Because I get tired of saying higher self, and then I say, oh no, deeper self. No, really, it doesn't have directionality, but it's a cosmic self. It's a cosmic self. This is a mysterious connection then, creates and opens a mysterious connection with universal guidance, whatever that may be, however that comes to you. The cards can come to feel to us as if they are alive, like they're living beings. The cards themselves, either they're opening onto something that's like a realm of kind of like living beings that maybe are in other dimensions or something, or even the cards themselves can come to feel as if the cards are alive. And then, weirdly, this is so weird, but the cards can come alive, and before your very eyes, the card can change. Like the artwork will move around and something will be revealed you have never seen before. I'm saying this from my own experience. I have just recently, within the last few weeks, I have things open. In fact, I believe the last time we met, something opened for me. I can't remember what it was. Does anyone remember? Something on the card I had never seen before, and all of a sudden, it was huge. And how had I never seen this configuration before? So every time that happens, it's like teacher. It's like a teaching is coming through. I talked to my mom about this. Okay, I might go sideways again. She painted the cards. My mom is 90 years old. And I told her, I said, I said, thank you so much for painting this tarot deck. I can't believe that you painted this tarot deck. Thank you for doing this, because I appreciate it more now than I ever have. With every passing day, I appreciate it more. How alive these images are, how much they change. And she said to me, well, when the images came, when she received them, they were totally alive and they were moving and changing and, and she put the pictures, the paintings were about probably, I don't know, they were like, maybe they were 18 by 24-ish. I don't remember, but she put the paintings all around her art studio, all around the walls, and they were alive. They were talking to her. They were changing in front of her. And there were moments that were a little scary. They also permeated her night dreams.
That's what I mean by spooky.
Yeah, they could be spooky. And they could be a little bit, because it's like, where is this energy coming from? And she, like one example was on the Magus, a mirror appeared on the card, and it just appeared, and she could not paint it out. It was some kind of mirror that appeared, and there, like a shiny, reflective spot, and I mean, she was living that 24 hours a day. And here, parenthetically, by the way, and here's Pamela going sideways for the third time, when we got the contract with Tarot, with U.S. Games to publish the Tarot, she had to relinquish the cards. She had to give them the paintings to U.S. Games, and those paintings were like alive, and they were her friends. Yeah. And she cried and cried and cried, and I said, Mom, do you want to just have these paintings? Because she said, no, I can't, we can't do this. And I said, look, if you, just imagine this, if you could be willing to let these paintings go, maybe 1,000 people could see them, maybe. Imagine that, 1,000 people holding the Magus in their hand, is that worth it? Is that worth, I had to go through a lot, let me tell you, to convince her to part with those paintings. But the good thing is, they're in the collection. They're in the collection that I was mentioning earlier, and they're in a climate-controlled art facility. Where for posterity. Within a big tarot collection. So that's the good part. And they can get them out. They'll be in perfect condition, as they did several years ago for the 20th anniversary edition, and I think it was 2012, I think it was. They got them out and they rescanned them. So the decks, we call them the new decks, it's old now, but any deck that you have that has the Magus on the cover, those are individual scans with state-of-the-art contemporary scanners, art scanners, New York art scanners, scanned one by one from the original paintings. So those, what you're seeing on the decks, the deck with the Magus on the cover, those are the original paintings. And when she did open that deck, she cried and cried and cried again. This is the way it was always supposed to be. Because the pre-2011 decks got muddied in the process because it was old technology. Okay, that's my third segue into something else, and now I'm back into tarot reading. Okay, so the cards come to feel alive. That's what I was talking about when I got into my mother. And what we find is as if these cards, these living images, are appearing in front of us to meet our needs, like something we're asking for. And there it is, teaching us, meeting our needs, teaching us and waking us up, continually waking us up. And anybody who has done tarot readings, even almost in the most cursory way, starts to get freaked out by the fact of the mysterious repetitions. So you start getting these repetitions of the same cards that come up again and again and again, which theoretically should be impossible. And also these repeating emphases that won't let us go until we figured it out. And then conversely, some people will be doing a group thing like this today, like we're doing today, and then we draw a card, and some people say, I've never seen that card before. They never got it in a reading. How could they never get it in a reading? So they're getting the same cards all the time. Well, it's like pay attention. Okay, so the cards become part of our inner and outer spiritual journey. And it opens into all these worlds. So we're opening our psyche, we're opening our consciousness. And because of that, here, let me make a small note about what I'm going to call psychic protection. Because I don't usually think about that very much. But when I first started it, I did. Because I remember the spookiness that I would sometimes feel. And it just, what is happening? Because I could start to feel like I was contacting or being contacted by, I don't know, entities or something. I'm just going to use that word, okay? Okay, so could any of this be negative? Could we have negative thoughts that could flow out of that, or could it impact us in a negative way? Well, better safe than sorry. Okay, so in the old days, I just kind of do this routinely. I don't, like, no negative energy is allowed to enter my space. That's the way it is, period. Okay, it's like an affirmation. However, I am going to share with you from my teachers of old the power of protection. So here's what you can do. Okay, first, if you feel you've contacted anything negative, excuse me, they're saying don't spend too much time on this, okay? Because I don't want to go into the negative part of it. But yeah, I say they're saying, that's what I'm talking about. I am constantly being guided. I can hear it. The council. And I have a lot of words. Maybe I'll talk about that later. I have a lot of words for that. I do call it the council sometimes. So, the angels. Okay, I'll talk about it now. Okay, but sometimes it feels like a body of angels. It's not just one. It's like a band of angels. Oh my God, the band of angels is here. Sometimes it's the council. So sometimes it feels like a council of elders, and they will speak to me, and I can identify some of them. I know who they are specifically. Okay, all right, I'm bearing my soul. I have a contact who is not in this star system, who also is very helpful and has been for very many years. Then, okay, I also have the more earth-based. Okay, oh my gosh, I'm bearing my soul, and it's going to be I'm going to put this on YouTube. Okay, Okay. All right. Okay, you guys. Take a chance. Honestly. Okay. Taking a chance. Okay. Jesus, Mary, the Buddha. Now my hair is standing on end because I've spoken the truth. Mm-hmm. I call on these guides or they come to me. I could tell you a giant story of Jesus who wasn't in my vocabulary in my life, appearing to me in disguise for about 2 years and finally taking off his hood. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Okay, so I'm not going to go any further into this right now. Sometimes, I do want to say one more thing though. Sometimes the departed appear. When I'm doing readings for other people, one of their children or parents will come and stand right next to me and start talking to me. I'm like, oh my God, your daughter's here. She's talking to me. Mm-hmm. She's telling me something. Okay, that's enough. You get the idea.
Yes.
Well,
okay, but okay, so now a note about protection. Okay, just in case there were any negative entities out there who wanted to invade your mind, or whatever. Okay, so here's me. Okay, putting up a cone of power. This might sound pretty cliche because you've already heard it a lot. Surround yourself with white light in and out. Spiral the white light around you in and out inside, spiral of white light inside, spiral of white light around you, surrounding yourself in the white light. Even if you need to, affirmation, no negative energies may enter this space. Only the most positive, highest, most beneficent and beautiful aspects of this cosmos, of this universe, may enter this space. And that's all there is to it. Period. Full stop. Anybody else, we are not even entertaining a conversation. Don't even think about it. Okay, so what happens as a result of that, and this is why I don't think about it that much, is if you're in the same place a lot where you're doing readings or something, like in your room, whatever that means, like say you're in your room, whatever, a buildup of energies happens. And those energies that are built up become like pathways. So it becomes really easy. In this place where we are right now, there's a huge buildup of energies. And including, I talked about this before, but including ghosts. But these are good ghosts. They're all good ghosts. And they're all helpful, beneficent spirits. Usually I don't talk about this stuff, but you can feel it if you start tapping in. Okay, so, but the protection, surround yourself. So if there's anything negative, I will do a clearing. I have done clearings with people. And okay, so how do you do a clearing? Well, that's not our subject either really of today, but if you do have a negative energy that you feel is entering or lingering or something like that, well, we have just witnessed today a clapping to let the spirits go, right? Release, or spirit, whatever you want to call it. But I also have, you can just fan the air. Yep, literally open the door and fan the energy out. And I've done this a few times with clients where I felt something was really, really wrong with something really, really amiss with the energy that was existing, and then I would clear it. You could smudge and things like that, the standard things that everybody does, but I will occasionally do that. I actually have a fan that I use, it's an actual tool that I use, but mostly it's just psychological. Clear the space. But if I really need to clear the space, I will open the doors and I clear the space. Mm-hmm. I actually clear it, gone, out, So, okay. I said a lot more about that than I was intending to say, because I want to focus on this as a positive experience, but I also do know that it can open these doors, okay? I see tarot, for me, tarot is a spiritual practice. The reason it's a spiritual practice is because every card is a flashcard of Kabbalistic energy, and every card is imbued with spiritual knowledge and teachings. And just by turning that card over, you are inside of the spiritual knowledge and teachings that it wants to give you for that moment, for that day. And you can test it too. You can test it. You can say, okay, what knowledge, what teaching do you want to give me right now? And then I'm going to pull a card. They just said, okay, pull a card, just show. Okay, what is the knowledge and teaching right now that wants to come through? Four of Fire, Flame of Spirit. I call this card the church card or the temple card. What we're trying to do is contain a body of knowledge somehow. And by the way, this card is looking down into a pyramid. There's light inside. There's an opening at the top. The opening at the top is the place to give and receive energy, which I was not going to talk about. But now, having drawn this card, they said, you better talk about it. So when I talk about surrounding yourself with the white light, I leave an opening at the top. And the opening is an ingress and exit, but it is only for the highest, purest, most positive powers of the universe. So looking at this card, it's like, okay, here's the body. Now leave the opening. Okay, but this is us together in the temple, and it's our inner temple, but it's also us together in the temple, moving inside this knowledge. And it's also, the body. It's it's embodiment.
That was in our last reading, that big one we did at the end.
Okay, and so this was also in the last reading we had about moving forward, about how we're going to move forward. Okay, so tarot is a spiritual practice, and that I was just saying, so you can draw, every time you draw a card, you can enter into this spiritual practice. It grows your soul and helps you move about the internal and external cosmos. So I hear this message, and that's the whole point. Draw a card. I draw the card, which is the temple, the church card. Tarot as a spiritual practice. Yeah. Okay? And yet there's no dogma. It's the church is the temple without dogma. Okay? Because we're entering the temple of the secret knowledge, past, present, and future, which it exists beyond writing. I mean, there are lots of tarot books that can teach the knowledge, card by card, but we're entering into a realm that is far beyond that. That's only the starting point, is to learn the words that have been written and talked about with regard to this tool. Okay, so it grows the soul. It helps us move about our own internal cosmos, our external cosmos. And then above all, what happens with tarot, because it is an inner oracle, is we become our own guide and our own teacher. The cards are kind of like a mediator, but because they can help us with that. And by the way, one of my teachers, the first really full-on teacher that I had with the tarot, she's told me, you're going to learn, I'm going to teach you, and you're going to learn these 7 decks, and you're going to learn all about them, but there comes a moment you don't need any of that stuff. You don't need a tarot deck. You enter into the knowledge awakens, and then you're inside the knowledge. And so I don't need a tarot deck either anymore, even though I use it all the time, but I know this place. I've visited it so much that I understand how I can enter into this place. Okay, to become my own guide and teacher. We learn how to read and interpret the signs, symbols, and omens from the point of view of our cosmic self. Okay, therefore, I'm very close to the end of what I want to say here. So therefore, let us treat the cards as if they are spiritual beings. Treat your readings as if it's your spiritual practice. We can also create sacred space in which to do our readings, and all of this is going to deepen our practice. And I say, take it seriously. Take it seriously. If you take it seriously, it's going to really teach you. Conversely, I could say if you're not getting the answer to what you're looking for, if it doesn't make sense, you're drawing card after card, and it doesn't make sense, put the cards away and wait. Mm-hmm. It makes more sense to draw one card than to draw a bunch of cards. Mm-hmm. Just understand that one card, and then you're going to be able, and take it seriously. Try to understand what it's trying to teach you, and it will take you to extraordinary levels and into amazing dimensions of consciousness. So that is why I do tarot readings. That's some background on tarot readings and on the tarot cards. And we're going to end right there. Later, we will resume with how to ask questions, how to ask the right questions to get the most information, and then also how to create the tarot spreads or throws to also get the best information possible from this particular system. So we will end right there, and thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.